Thank you for tuning in to the Checka Pro radio show. I am Checka Pro Joe. Luke Strange is joining me here today to talk about some electrical stuff. Luke, how are you?
Doing good. What's up, Joe?
Hey, I am just living the dream. I really appreciate having you on the program today as our expert in terms of electrical in the house. So here's a question that came in, and this is a real legitimate question. What are the dangers of faulty outlets? I guess someone has a faulty outlet. That might mean maybe it works sometimes, doesn't work other times. Maybe it's not working at all. Maybe there's some evidence of something burn on that outlet. Can you enlighten us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, there's different variables. So I'll give you some three common scenarios. Would that work? Something like that. So
Hmm.
not really sure on the specifics. You would need to, have it tested and probably more details to be, but some general ideas. So I believe we've spoken about GFCIs before. So those can be those can have a ground fault and they can kick off. They would look like these, and they would kick off, and they'll have power coming in, but then they also feed some other outlets. So this person might be saying, hey, this outlet here is not working and I don't know what's going on. The breakers are all on. It could be something like that. It could be a GFCI and there might be water or a bad appliance connected to that circuit, and it could be causing a shock hazard. And that's what these do, is they protect you from getting shocked. Some of the other, so like this would be considered an outlet here, and they have little tamper resistant. If they might be saying, hey, this is faulty, but it could just be that they're having a hard time plugging it in, because these are the new child safe outlets, and they have little shutters inside of them, and you have to kind of wiggle it to plug it in properly. So they might just be having a hard time getting used to these newer type of outlets. And then sometimes, like, a wire will go there, connect to one, and then it'll go there and connect to one, and then it'll go out and feed another spot.
Yeah.
And sometimes those connections will go bad. So the dangers, if the circuit breaker panel isn't properly protecting it, or isn't accurate, then you could get hot spots. And this one's a pretty extreme one, but I keep it on my desk just for training purposes. But that's a pretty gnarly hot spot. That's a extreme position. But in general, you have these breakers are rated. These circuit breakers here, they're rated for a certain amount of amperage. They feed power out to the outlet, but then from this outlet, it could feed other outlets. And so depending on what's going on in those outlets, she may have, bad connections there, could be loose connections throughout the whole spot. So it's kind of hard to really give too much specific, because it really does need some investigation. But those are some of the general things I've seen. Bad construction grade connections. Are you familiar with those? We call them stab lock. It's kind of the slang term. Are you familiar with those?
No, what is that?
Okay. All right. Let me see here.
Oh, yes, I am. Where you stab it from behind versus using the.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they'll stab that wire.
Yep.
There's like a little hole here. Instead of wrapping it around the screw, they'll just stab it right in the back, and it gets it's kind of like a Chinese finger trap connection,
Yeah.
right? And so over time, if you're pulling window units, you're pulling something that pulls a lot of power, maybe a space heater, lots of appliances, a microwave. Well, they can save on the install. They can save a lot of time by doing these connections, and it's still allowed. And so if the person who wired up the house is, paid per house, he could save a couple hours on his install, and it's going to last his 1 or 2 year warranty. The problem is it's not going to last much longer after that. And depending on how much they use power through those connections, they just don't hold up very well, and they can get hot spots there. So those are pretty common bad outlets connections I've seen with my experience.
Yeah, I'm traditional. I still like to wrap the wire around and tighten it with the screw. And by the way, there's a certain way to do it, everybody. You want to make sure that the wire is going in the right direction of the screw. You don't want it to go against. You want the wire to move with the screw. A lot of people just like jam it in there, and it's straight and they don't put a curve on it. And so, electricians or someone like me who have done this myself, it's something that you get used to, but it is an art. And one thing I see a lot, I've purchased homes in the past. I'm like, why doesn't this outlet work? Well, sure enough, I go to the outlet just a few feet away and it wasn't connected properly. Basically, there's a junction on that outlet, like you were talking about, whether you stab it in or you have it wrapped around the screw. And it, one of the leaves just fell off. All you need is like the hot to go off or the white wire, and right, it's
any of them. I mean, they're all important. Yeah.
And always, always, always hire an electrician. Okay. Don't do this yourself. A lot of people don't know what goes where. They might forget to put the ground on. The ground's important. Will the outlet work without it? It will. It'll work. It'll run your hair dryer, but is it grounded? No, not necessarily. So my point is you really should make sure that you have Luke and his team come out.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Luke, as always, thank you so much for being the expert here on Check the Pro Radio. Much appreciated, buddy.
Thank you, sir.